Sometimes you get a special project when you're doing something that comes along unexpectedly. And I had a soldier donate a uniform the other day, and I'm going to be cutting it apart. It's a retired uniform. Cutting it apart to make masks for the coronavirus for the protection of some of our soldiers and or nurses who are taking care of these men and women. So the first thing I want to do is look at this uniform. It had to be 100% cotton, and the Army doesn't always use 100% cotton, but this is a U.S. Army uniform. That's obviously labeled. Some of the other things I noticed about the uniform where there is a cross on the collar that indicates the person was a chaplain. And the other side, there is a leaf, which I'm told means this person was a major. I'm not familiar with all of the different kinds of designations in what they look like. I just know the titles, but someone who does know explained that to me. And of course there is a flag, a United States flag, on this uniform. The name was cut off, so I can't verify who donated it. But I think at this time, I'm going to take the different insignias off of this uniform, because if both sides are the same material, it will be hard to tell which side was toward your face. And that's important so you don't get the wrong side towards your face if you take it off to eat or something of that nature. And it would be nice to sew these insignias on the front side. And I think I'll donate them to the VA Medical Center. And when they get them, I'm going to ask that they be given to someone appropriate for the designation that's on the mask. So here goes. We're going to cut some of these things off. I have my little seam ripper here. So with luck I can get some of these off of here and we can reuse them. As explained previously, there are locations where the material is too thick to sew to make it part of the mask. Boy, whoever sewed them on did a really good job. Makes me wonder about this chaplain and all of the lives that he's mentored in his tours of duty. And I pray that his health is good, or her health is good, and that this duly honors all of the different things that he's done or she's done in their lives. The mission for this uniform is not quite done. It will live on. And for the soldier who wore it. And it also makes you wonder about the soldiers who will receive it. There we go. There's the cross. We'll recycle that. Army rank Major Gold.
Well, it's just Major.
Okay, there's the gold leaf for the Major. Oh, yes. And this is a Pennsylvania Keystone.
Infantry.
That's all it means?
Yeah. Here's the one that I wore.
Oh, I remember that now that you show it to me. As I cut this uniform apart, I know that there's some areas that are going to be difficult to use because of double seams, etc., that just won't rip apart. But we'll do our best to get a piece out of each section of the uniform. Wow. What I see here on the cuff are buttons. And ironically, what you use on the back of a mask sometimes is a separate piece. There's 3 buttons here, but I can see this being 2 buttons on a separate piece, not part of the mask. But if the ears get tired of wearing the elastic, you can take this and loop it over the back of the 2 buttons, and that gives relief from the ears. So I'm actually going to use this cuff to make one of those holders to give relief to a nurse or a serviceman's ears, whoever ends up wearing this mask or these masks. Right, there we go. That's amazing. I would have never ever thought about that until starting this. Work on this sleeve and see if I can get a 6 by 9 inch piece out of that. Well, here is a nice big section. We'll try that. Cutting around the seams again to try and get a 6 by 9 inch piece that we can make a mask out of. Alright, let's see what we've got here. Definitely more than 9 inches long. And the most narrow section is a little bit over 6 inches. That is phenomenal. So I think first we're going to go across here at the narrowest point and take off excess material to get a straight line. And as well, vertically we want a nice clean straight line. Slide it down. This is a quilt cutting board, by the way, in case you've never seen one of these before, but the quilters in the area use them. I used to have one, but having had 2 fires in my life, I don't know if it burned up or if it's anywhere around. So a neighbor had it and agreed to let me borrow hers, which is wonderful. Perfect. Okay, here's what we have as a 6 by 9 inch piece of material that we're going to use to make a mask. And I'm going to continue to work through the entire uniform piece by piece, and we'll see how many masks we can get out of this particular uniform. So I hope that you're as touched and moved as I am by this soldier donating this uniform to make masks for, and again, if they're in the hospital at the VA Medical Center, it might mean an awful lot to them. So pray over this one, if you will. Thank you. This is the back where I think I'm going to get the most pieces out of, but also I was looking at these panels with the double pockets on, and I'm thinking, wow, wouldn't that make a good place to put a filter? What I'd like to do is probably fold this piece of material in half, because the cutting board is not big enough to go all the way across at one time. So if we lay it on here across, there we go. And then take this down just a bit so I can cut that edge off. I was at the right angle that time. All right, 2 more pieces to make a mask there. That is fantastic. We need some elastic to put in that would hold behind the ears. To grab that piece of elastic and bring it down so that we can have it top to bottom on the ear. Back and forth a little bit helps to secure that elastic in place. Time for a piece of elastic for the other ear. Find that strand and bring it around to secure it on the bottom for that ear. Back and forth. And we got within a 2-inch opening on an angle. That way we get a smoother corner when we turn it to the other side. Okay, all 4 corners are done. And now we proceed to turn the mask right side out. And the corners pull out pretty nicely there. To get a little thick here, I do have a denim needle in it, so hopefully it won't bend. A little tough on the machine. The cotton in a uniform is rather heavy. Hammers a bit. But we got it, and that's what's important. Move it over and go around the second time, just so that it holds up. This uniform was well worn. Again, by a major, an Army Major Chaplain in the U.S. Army. There we go, and that finishes up this mask, except we might add an emblem to it. Here we go, so that they know which side goes out. The first one from the Army uniform.
Good morning. Here we are on this fine sunny morning outside of Joelle and Litz house, our wonderful county commissioner who has the women behind the scenes, and they've made how many masks now for the community?
We are over 5,000. I'm going to guess made at least 5,500. We've delivered about 5,200 of those.
Wow, and 2 community days, the last 2 Saturdays here in Lebanon?
Yes.
And what do you have special here for us today, Joellen?
Well, on Sunday, I believe it was, an officer came to my door and presented me with a camouflage United States Army uniform and said, "Ma'am, we'd like to donate this uniform to make masks out of." I said, "Seriously?" He said, "Yes." The name was cut off, and other things under the pockets were cut off, and identifying information. So I have no way to conclusively know whose uniform this was. However, there were a lot of things left on the uniform that I was able to learn a lot about the individual. My husband served in the National Guard and was able to help me distinguish what some of the things meant. I'm going to show you. Here's one of the masks that were made from the uniform, and this has a black keystone on it, the state of Pennsylvania's keystone, and I can tell you that that means they're in the 28th Division of the Army National Guard. Now, all of these that I'm going to show you are on the same uniform. Every military uniform has an American flag. So this one has the American flag. And these two, I actually used the chest part and left the pockets intact because the tops were cut off, and just folded down the front and sewed a filter pocket so that whoever receives these can have a filter inserted should they like.
That's very, very enterprising.
It just looked right. This next mask actually has a small cross on it. This tells us that the person who wore this was a chaplain.
You see? There it is. That's very cool.
So I sewed a cross in the corner of this. So whoever gets these masks, God is going to be with them all the time and hopefully help them recover or keep them safe.
Wow, and these are going to who today?
Okay, no, wait, there's one more. The final piece that I'd like to share is that this gold leaf was also on the collar. That signifies that this person was a major in the United States Army. So this person was someone of stature and someone who had a heart and was able to counsel people. And I'm just wondering how many people, how many soldiers did this man help with his work? I say man, it could have been a woman. So Sharon and I split up the duties, and the remainder of my masks are just plain, as are Sharon's. Now, she had the pants, I had the top.
Well, that's teamwork.
Yeah, that's teamwork. We did this together, a joint project by the co-chairs of women working behind
Well,
the
you've
scenes.
done everything together and helped the community.
Well, we've tried.
Yes.
If one of us gets sick, the other has to be able to carry on.
Right.
So
And how many
it's-
volunteers do you have sewing right now?
Sewing, we have a team of 76 women right now,
Wow.
and it just keeps growing. You know, one or two volunteer here and there. They might be donating fabric. They want to help, so they'll go out and buy fabric and donate it. They will say, hey, I can cut elastic, or they'll run to Lancaster and get us rolls of elastic. And then there are the sewers. Last night I counted up, we have 18 women in the 100 Club. That means they have sewn at least 100 masks. They are amazing women. It is truly a team effort. We have accomplished much more than any one of us could have done alone.
Well, hello, team.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Welcome. This is the most creative part. At the cuffs there were 3 buttons. And so I would take 2 of them, and these are called ear savers. Are you familiar with them?
No.
Okay. You would take this and then hold it behind your head, put one of the ear loops on that, and then it takes the pressure off your
Okay.
ears.
All right.
So if you're wearing them all day, now stay on your corner there, so we're a little
Okay.
socially
Yeah.
distant.
So we don't get in trouble,
Yeah.
right?
Okay, yeah.
So these are ear savers, and I got all the strips. I didn't hem them or anything because it's very thick material. My machine really fought me to make these because it was heavy material. But I thought, if somebody's ears are hurting and they're complaining, you could give them
Yeah, okay.
one of these.
All right,
And it's
thank
actually
you.
from the uniform. So that was something creative.
Yeah. Great.
These two, this one has a major's leaf,
yeah.
and this one has a chaplain's cross.
Right.
This one has, I believe, the 28th Division.
That's correct.
And of course, we salvaged the American flag.
Oh, yeah.
And I had the top, Sharon had the pants, and we worked as a team.
Okay.
I did not take the top off of the pockets and use the material underneath separately. What I did was leave it on, because there were things cut away at the tops of the pockets,
Yeah.
and it was kind of destroyed anyhow. So I instead made them into filter pockets.
Okay.
So they're thicker and heavier, but if someone has a real concern and wants to insert a filter into this pocket, they can.
Okay.
All right?
That makes
So
sense.
they're a little creative.
Uh-huh.
And yes, they're just all different kinds. Some with
Okay.
filter pockets from the pockets on the top, and
Right.
others, the bottom, Sharon did take the pockets off because it was just too thick and there wasn't
Yeah.
enough clear space.
Sure.
And these, some of them, the material looks brand new because it was always hidden by the pocket.
Okay.
So
How many
we,
are you donating today, Joanne?
we have 22 from the uniform, and we
Okay.
have 200
Oh, my heavens.
in this bag. So here what
Okay.
we have are just all kinds of cheerful
Oh,
things
my.
for the
Yeah.
nurses, light things for spring, whatever. You can take a look. But we have 200 more masks to donate
Wow.
to the VA Medical Center to help
Yeah.
protect their staff, or if there's a
Great.
patient that's coughing, that you can present it to them.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you. I will definitely do that. Joe.
You're welcome.
Let me take a picture.
We're very grateful that you came for them. And again, I'm sure that you, being the gentleman you are, will find the appropriate
I
place
will.
for
I
these.
think I'll give the one with the cross to our head chaplain.
I just,
Just
and we're
knew that-
advertising for TJ Maxx, so.
Yeah, I just knew that you would know the right people to give these to
Yeah.
without offending rank and all that sort of thing. There we go. Thank you so much,
Here's
sir.
a virtual hug.
Yes,
Wow.
air hug.
Thank
I call
you.
them air hugs. We're just privileged to be able to help our veterans.
Yeah.
A lot of the ladies feel that way.
Thank you. And
They really produce.
Angela asked me to make sure I said thank you
Yes.
for the quote that she you gave her.
So I'm
So
doing.
what you're doing. We'd like to shed a good light on people and what you're doing.
We just know how valuable the military is in our community, our largest employer, and serving the men and women who protect us and keep us safe, or did in the past. And
Yeah.
so we owe it to them to do everything we can.
Thank you. Now tell me one last time.
Yes.
How many do I have here so I can be sure to
200 and I think I said 20. didn't I?
22.
222.
Oh, that's easy enough.
Yeah, 222, 3 twos. There we go.
Okay.
222.
Even I can read.
Do you
Thank you.
admit was that your uniform?
Yes. Yes, it was.
I
Oh,
said
really?
my husband was helping. He was in the
Really?
National
Yeah.
Guard, and he was helping me to
Aw.
figure out what all these things meant.
you have-
But I said to my husband, when he started telling me what everything meant, I said, I'm sure these are Doug Etters, but
Yeah,
I
you
said,
were right.
You gotta keep the one with the star on.
he didn't
right?
tell me.
Or
Does-
no?
Can I share that or not?
Oh, no, that's fine. Sure.
And what did you retire as? A colonel. Okay. All right.
Yeah. That was probably, depending on, I don't even remember, my
The
shoulder
60s?
sleeves, if it was, did it have two black keystones, one on
One
side?
black keystone.
Okay, that
and a
was
flag
even
on the
before
other.
my first combat.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was after 9/11 because they didn't
Oh.
start putting the flags on until 9/11.
Oh.
Oh, is that right? I did not realize
That's
that.
when they did
That's
that, and the
interesting.
flag looks like it's reversed.
Yes.
Mhm.
And the
But
reason
it's
for that
flying.
is because if you have it on a pole and you're marching forward,
It goes that way.
that's the way it looks. It looks reversed.
Yeah.
So, but at the time, the guy that ultimately became the Secretary of VA was Eric Shinsheki, and it was his decision that all Army personnel would start wearing the flag.
It's a nice touch. So I always try and mention her and the other women because it's not just me. It's
Yeah.
76 women.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a lot of
Yeah.
folks doing a lot of good for our community.
Absolutely. And
As always, thank you.
yeah, thank you, sir.